In the bustling city of Lagos, where the smell of fresh pastries sweetened the air, lived a young woman named Susan. She was known for her vibrant spirit and her love for grand parties. Susan was not your typical beauty, she had a unique charm that was hard to miss. Her laughter was infectious, and her presence at any event was like a burst of joy. Susan was quite a character, with her love for Coca-Cola and donuts, which gave her a roundness that she wore with pride. Her makeup was always a tad too much, with bright colors that matched her bold personality. Her neck was sturdy like a bull's, adorned with necklaces that seemed to struggle to meet around her. And her headgear was always tied in a way that comically showcased her coconut-shaped head. It was at a birthday party for Caleb's friend that their paths crossed. Kaleb, a shy and reserved young man, was instantly drawn to Susan's charm. He watched her from across the club, her laughter reaching him over the chatter of the crowd. "Excuse me," Kaleb finally mustered the courage to approach her. "I couldn't help but notice your beauty." Susan turned, her eyes twinkling with mirth. "Why, thank you. It's my signature style," she replied, her headgear tilting slightly to one side. "I'm Kaleb. Would you, perhaps, share your phone contact with me?" Their love relationship unfolded like the pages of a well-loved book. Each chapter was more delightful than the last. Kaleb was enamored by Susan's zest for life, and Susan found Caleb's quiet strength to be her safe harbor. When Kaleb decided to take the next step, he did so with a heart full of hope. He asked for Susan's hand in marriage, a question that brought tears of joy to her eyes. "Yes, Kaleb. 1,000 times, yes." Kaleb stood at the threshold of his house, the familiar scent of food delicacies wafted through the air as he held Susan's hand. He could hear the soft hum of his mother's laughter from the kitchen. "Susan," Kaleb whispered, squeezing her hand with a reassuring smile. "Are you ready to meet the most loving, albeit teasing, person in my life?" "I'm all set, Kaleb. Let the compliments rain." As they entered, Mama G's eyes lit up like fireworks. She enveloped Susan in a hug that could rival the warmth of a summer's day. "Kaleb, you've outdone yourself," Mama G exclaimed, stepping back to admire Susan. "Such a robust figure, my dear. I bet you could bless us with triplets on the first go." Susan chuckled, her cheeks dimpling with delight. "Oh, Mama G, you do know how to make a girl feel special, just as Kaleb had described." Kaleb watched, a smile tugging at his lips as his mother continued her unique brand of praise. "And look at this," Mama G said, gently dabbing at Susan's cheek with a playful finger. "Your makeup is a masterpiece. It's like a festive parade for the face." Susan's laughter filled the room, rich and infectious. "Thank you, Ma." The room erupted into a chorus of laughter. Kaleb knew then that Susan would fit right into the tapestry of his life, from his mother's laughter and praises. As the seasons shifted, so too did the winds within Kaleb and Susan's home. The once sporadic burst of laughter that accompanied Susan's partying with Cynthia began to fill their evenings with a regularity that concerned Kaleb. "Susan, my love, I can't help but notice you've been spending a lot of time with Cynthia. The parties, the late-night escapades, it's becoming a bit much, don't you think?" Susan paused, her hands mid-air as she dabbed her cheeks with a powder puff. She turned to Kaleb, her lips curving into a playful and defiant pout. "Oh, Kaleb, you were what? Cynthia is the sprinkle of glitter in my life. Don't be such a damp sponge, you'll dull my spirit." Kaleb sighed, a mixture of exasperation and affection coloring his tone. "It's not that I want to dull your spirit, as you put it. It's just that, well, I miss our quiet nights in. I miss us." Susan set down her makeup brush, her gaze furrowed as she took in Caleb's honest expression. "Kaleb, my dear, you're the anchor that keeps my balloon from floating away. But even anchors need to let loose sometimes. You won't understand because you're a mama's boy. Susan finished dabbing her cheeks with a hint of pink. She was in a hurry, not wanting to keep Cynthia waiting. So, without wasting much of her time, she took a commercial bus to Eagles Club, where Cynthia was already tapping her heels impatiently. Susan and Cynthia were inseparable friends. Their bond was so strong that they were often mistaken for siblings. The only difference? Well, Cynthia was a slim, gorgeous damsel, with a laugh like the cacophony of a siren, and a walk so graceful, even the peacocks would envy her. Her beauty was such that it made other girls seem like mere shadows in her radiant presence. Susan, on the other hand, was the opposite version of her friend. She was as huge as a baby elephant, with a hugeness that bore the similarities of a cow, and a smile that could light up the darkest room. They attended one of the most recognized schools in Lagos, but they were both dropouts due to their party lifestyle back in high school. They shared everything, from their love for dance to the hardships they endured during their studies. Susan's behavior worsened each day. She barely came home, and sometimes she didn't even for weeks, spinning tales to Kaleb about imaginary business meetings that took her across the seas and back. One fateful morning, as the roosters announced the dawn, Mama G decided to pay her son and daughter-in-law a visit. She expected a warm welcome, a hot meal, and a pregnancy prophecy of her unborn grandchildren who are yet to come. Instead, she found an empty house with echoes of Susan's laughter hanging in the air like a mischievous ghost. As the clock struck noon, Susan made her grand entrance. She was dressed in an outfit so colorful and tight. It looked as if a rainbow had hugged her a little too passionately. Her skirt was shorter than a hiccup, and her blouse sparkled brighter than a disco ball. Mama G stood at the exit door, her eyebrows knitting together so tightly they could have stitched a quilt. "Susan, my dear," Mama G began, her voice was as stern as a headmistress in a primary school. "Where have you been? And what on earth are you wearing?" "Oh, Mama G," Susan replied with a twirl, "I'm off to the club. There's no rest for the fabulous." Mama G's eyes widened. "The club? At this hour? And what about food? I'm famished." Susan chuckled, her voice dripping with mischief. "Why, Mama G, there are countless bukka just outside our door. Why not grab some fast food at the roadside? Or perhaps some noodles to tickle your taste buds?" Mama G gasped, her hands on her hips. "Fast food? Noodles? In my time, we cooked with love, not laziness." Susan winked. "Oh, but times have changed, Mama G. The world spins, and we must spin with it." And with that, Susan sashayed out the door, leaving Mama G in a state of shock and bewilderment.